Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kwame Chumisi. Are you thinking of migrating to Australia? Then this video is for you. So what I've basically done is I've gathered or I've grouped all the visa subclasses that most migrants use to travel to Australia. So if you are really serious on migrating to Australia, then please do not skip any part of this video. Watch till the end, and I bet you're going to love the information I'm bringing to you in this video. So guys, before we get into the video, just a quick disclaimer. I am not a migration agent. I've just been living in Australia for some time now, so I know the system and I'm also well researched. I'll highly recommend you also do your research, okay? So you add what I'm going to tell you with your research so you can have a better place to stand as to you migrating to Australia. Without talking too much, I'm going to share my screen so we get started. See you on the other side. Hello guys, so welcome to this side. Okay, so I've got a table here, okay? A really simple table. So I've got the visa types here, or visa subclasses, okay? Yeah, so when you look on the left side of the table, so I've got all the description of the visas you can use to migrate to Australia, okay? And when we come to the right side, I've got all the visa subclasses, okay, you can use to migrate to Australia. Before I go explaining what each visa is, with today's video, I'm not going to go so much into details and also talk about each requirement, okay? Because every visa got a lot of requirements. So I'm just going to give you guys like a brief definition of what each visa is, if that makes sense. When we come here, okay, so this link is from imi.homeaffairs.gov.au. It's got every single visas Australia office, okay? All the visa subclasses Australia office is on it's on this website, okay? So imi.homeaffairs.gov.au/visas. I'm going to leave this link in the description section below. So Australia got hundreds of visas, yeah, as you guys can see here. But in today's tutorial, I'm just going to discuss the most used visa subclasses most migrants use to migrate to Australia. All right, so the first on the list is the Australian Visitors Visa. Okay, so these are the three main visa subclasses most visitors use to migrate to Australia. So the most popular one is the visa subclass 600. I'll explain this later. All right, so for the visa subclass 651 e-visa and the 601 ETA visa, they are very similar, okay? But to be eligible to apply for these two visas, you need to be a passport holder of one of these countries. Okay, so I'm going to leave all the countries that are eligible to apply for this visa on the screen. So with these two visas, if you're a passport holder of any of the countries that I showed you, yeah, you getting this visa is really easy. If not, then your best bet is the visa subclass 600. That's what most people apply for. So with this visa subclass 600, they've got streams, okay? You can come here as a tourist. You can come here on a business purpose. Okay, you can also be sponsored by a family, and they've got other streams. All these visas will allow you to stay in Australia for 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months based on your condition. Okay, so if you're thinking of coming here as a tourist or as a visitor, then please look at the Australian Visitors Visas 600, 651, or 601. But most people will be applying for the visa subclass 600. All right, so the other popular one is the family and partner visa. Okay, so if you've got like a family in Australia that are permanent residents or citizens, then you'll be able to actually join them. Okay, so the most popular ones are the partner visas. Okay, so if you're onshore, you'll be applying for the partner visa 820 and 801. So the 820 is basically temporary and 801 is permanent residence. Okay, so if you're onshore, you'll be able to apply for these two visas. If you're offshore, that is not living in Australia, you'll be looking at applying for the visa subclass 301 and 100. So the 301 is temporary and the 100 is what you call it, is the permanent one. So what are the requirements? So basically you need to prove to immigration that your relationship with the permanent residence or the citizen person in Australia is genuine, okay, and continuing. Yeah, so if you have a fiance or you are married to an Australian permanent residents or citizen, then you are in great lack of actually migrating to Australia to join them. Again, we've got a child visa. Most people also take advantage of this child visa. Okay, so if you're an Australian permanent resident or a citizen and you've got a child overseas, you'll be able to bring them and join, so they can join you permanently. So if you're onshore, you'll be applying for the visa subclass 802, and if you're offshore, which is not living in Australia, you'll be applying for visa 101. So basically, with the requirements for the child visa, if the child is under 18 and you have the sole right, okay, you have the right and the permission and it's of the child interest to join you in Australia, then you'll be able to bring them to Australia. If they're over 18, for example, if they are from 18 to 25, then the child needs to be studying. Okay, so let's say if they are in a college or university and they are between the ages of 18 and 25, then again you'll be able to sponsor them. Yeah, so this will show you that you are still paying their uni fees or college's fee and they are still dependent on you. Then you'll be able to sponsor them to come join you in Australia as a permanent resident. If they are between 18 plus, so 18 plus, and they are not studying, it's really difficult. Okay, they will need to prove that maybe they are disabled for them to join you. Okay guys, so the next on the list is the general skilled migration. Okay, so if you're a skilled person, someone with a sort of skills that Australia needs, then you'll be able to come here independently, okay, on the general skilled migration. So with this visa subclass is point tested. Okay, Australia has got a point calculator, point testing calculator. I'm going to share the link with you guys soon. Okay, so under the general skilled migration, we've got 3 visa subclasses. So you have the visa subclass 189, 190 and 491. Okay, so all these 3 visas got something in common. One, you need to make sure you are under 45 years old to be eligible to apply. You need to meet an English test requirement. Okay, you need to meet health requirements, character requirements. You also need to make sure you have a positive skills assessment result for the sort of occupation you want to migrate here with. Okay, and there's something called SkillSelect or expression of interest. So once you meet all these requirements, then you need to go on SkillSelect and express your interest as to you migrating to Australia. Now, these are the differences. So when you decide to go with the visa subclass 189, so this got one occupation list, okay, and the sort of occupations that are on this list is very small. Okay, so if you meet one of the requirements on these occupation lists, then you get your positive skills assessment, then you can express your interest. Okay, then once you get nominated by the government will send you an email that, hey, we've nominated you to apply. Then you apply for your visa to come to Australia. With visa subclass 189, you'll be able to work anywhere in Australia and you come here straight away as a permanent resident, if that makes sense. Now with visa subclass 190, is also similar to 189, but with this you'll be able to select the sort of state or territory you want to migrate to. Okay, so each state's or territory in Australia got their own occupation list. Okay, so let's say if you want to come to NSW or Victoria or Queensland or South Australia or the Northern Territory, they all have their own occupation list. Okay, so this is state nominated, if that makes sense. Okay, so in case you prefer to come to like New South Wales, then you go on the New South Wales occupation list. Make sure you meet one of the requirements on the occupation list, then express your interest. Okay, you go to SkillSelect, then you express your interest to migrate to that state. Once you get nominated and you apply for the visa, you need to make sure you go to that state. Okay, you only be able to work in your nominated state for a period of time before you decide to move to other states in Australia. Okay, so that's what the visa subclass 190 means. So the visa subclass 491, okay, is got to do with the regional part of Australia. Okay, so this visa subclass 491 has got the largest occupation list ever. Coming here to work under a regional part of Australia is going to be more lenient, because why? They've got a lot of the what do you call it, they've got the largest occupation list as compared to these two. So 189 got the smallest occupation list, 491 got the largest occupation list. So again, once you get nominated by a regional area in Australia, okay, you have to go to that regional area and work for them, okay? And you'll not come here straight away as a permanent resident, but you'll be able to later on, move to a permanent residence under the visa subclass 191 once you meet the residence and income requirements for that region. Then you'll be able to apply for the visa subclass 191 and become a permanent residence. I'll have to do like a detailed tutorial and explain this further. Again, so these are point tested, okay? So you need to make sure that you have points 65 plus, okay, to be eligible to apply for a general skilled migration visa. What is a point testing? So again, I'll need to do a detailed tutorial and explain what all this, but I'm going to leave this link in the description section below. So let's say if you want to apply for the visa subclass 189, you click on the visa subclass 189, then you go through this, okay? So you need to make sure you at least score a point of 65 plus, okay, to be eligible to get nominated by either the whole of Australia, a state, or a regional area. Yeah, so what is the easiest one? 491 is to what I'll say. Now, coming down, we have the employer sponsored. Okay, so again, the employer sponsored is kind of similar to the general skilled migration. They also have an occupation list. Okay, but with this, you are getting nominated by an employer. An employer needs to nominate or sponsor you to come and work in Australia, if that makes sense. So again, we have the visa subclass 186, 494, and 482. This visa subclasses are not point tested, which is really awesome. With the 186, again, you need to look on the on the occupation list, get a positive skills assessment, have the English requirement, okay, good health and good character requirement, and get sponsored by an employer, if that makes sense. This will also get you straight away permanent residence once you get nominated by an employer. With the visa subclass 491, so this is basically you getting sponsored by a regional area. There's something called Dharma, okay? So you can go on each of the Dharma list, go on the occupation list, and when you meet all the requirements and you get nominated by an employer in a regional area, you'll be able to apply for the visa subclass 494, okay? And this will also give you pathway to becoming a permanent resident in Australia. Again, we have the visa subclass 482. This is the kind of easiest way to come to Australia. With the subclass 186 and 494, you need to make sure you are under 45 years old. But with this visa subclass 482, there's no age limit, yeah, which is really good, okay? So in a nutshell, with the employer sponsorship, you need a sponsorship from an employer. Again, I'll need to do a detailed tutorial in regards to the employer sponsor, so I go into more details as to what the requirements are. Okay, so moving on, we have the student and graduate visa. Okay, so most people actually come here as a student. Once they finish their studies, they go through pathways to becoming a permanent resident in Australia. Okay, so if you want to come and study in Australia, then we're looking at the student visa 500. Okay, so with these, you need to apply to a uni or a college in Australia, get accepted. Then the college or uni will give you something called COE, confirmation of enrollment. Once you get that, then you use that to apply for your visa, and voila, you'll be on your way to Australia. Hey, there are other requirements, but again, I'll need to do a detailed tutorial and explain to you what all the requirements are. So when you finish with your student visa, then you go ahead. What most students do is they go ahead and apply for the visa subclass 485. So this will allow them to work in Australia for 2 or 3 years. Okay, they can work in Australia full time for 2 or 3 years depending on where they are in Australia. If you are in not a regional area, yeah, you'll be working for 2 years. But if you're in a regional area, you can work up to 3 years on your graduate visa. Yeah, with the visa, student visa 500, you'll be able to work 20 hours per week or 40 hours per fortnight. But due to COVID, the government have now made it 40 hours per week. Yeah, if that makes sense. But I heard this is going to change in July. Okay, it's going to go back to the 20 hours per week. With the graduate visa, you'll be able to work unlimitedly, okay, during your stay. Now, we also got something called 407, which is the training visa. Okay, so most people also use this to enter Australia. So this is basically if an employer sponsors you to come do your training in Australia. Yeah, so that's visa subclass 407. A lot of people also use this to migrate to Australia. There's something called working holiday visa. Okay, so visa subclass 417. This is not available for everyone. You need to be a passport holder of one of these countries to be eligible for. Okay, so I'm going to leave all the list of the eligible countries on the screen. So if you have a passport, you're a passport holder of any of these country, then you'll be able to apply for a working holiday visa. There's an age requirement. Okay, so you need to be between 18 to 30 to apply for this visa, or up to 35 for certain countries. Okay, for certain countries you can extend this visa for up to 3 years. Okay, so you come to Australia for 1 year, then once you meet all the requirements, you'll be able to extend for a second year, then you also be able to extend for a third year. But after the third year, you need to go back to your country. Now we have the business and investor visa. Okay, so if you're a business owner in your home country, then again you'll be able to migrate to Australia. Okay, so this is also point tested. Yeah, if you make sense, you need to make sure you score over 65 plus in the point test to be eligible to apply for this visa. With this business innovation visa too, you need to make sure you are under 55 years old. But if you're over 55 years old, then the sort of business you want to conduct or you want to move to Australia needs to be very beneficial to the Australian economy for you to get rid of the age requirement. Okay, but again, you need to be under 55 years old to be able to qualify for this visa. You need to be state nominated, and also you need to prove that your business turnover within the last 2 years was more than 750,000 Australian dollars. So you need to prove all this to be eligible to apply for the visa subclass 188. Most business owners outside of Australia are taking advantage of this, and they are moving to Australia. It's got a pathway to what they call it, to becoming a permanent residence. Okay, so once you get here, you need to, I think, be able to work for like 3 years and also meet an income threshold to be eligible to apply for a permanent residence. Okay, so when we go back to the point test, again, you click on the first one, business innovation and investment. Okay, subclass 88. Make sure you go through the test and make sure you score over 65 points. And last but not the least, we have the humanitarian visa. Okay, so this is basically coming here as a refugee. Okay, so we have the visa subclass 785, which is the temporary protection visa, and we have the visa subclass 866, which is the permanent protection visa. With this visa, they normally assess this based on where you are applying from, so the sort of country, your religion, and other factors. But you need to prove that you are not safe in your country and you cannot go back to your country. Okay, so once you cannot prove that, then you'll be able to come here as a refugee on the humanitarian visa subclass 785 and 866. Again, if you want me to do a detailed explanation as to what all the requirements are, I'm happy to do that for you. So there you have it, guys. So if you are serious about migrating to Australia and you meet any of these visa requirements, then please go ahead and apply. My name is Kwame Chumesi. I'll see you in my other tutorial. Bye.